You are now rocking with the 3-yard play.
Right.
We just figured out a 3-yard play, fam. We're gonna win every time.
Yeah.
Hit that link with you. Come on in.
You're tuned into the 3-Yard Play podcast. Well, the only question is, does it work for you?
Trail got wings, bitch.
We've been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year. We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year. We live in weight just to hold up the trophy. Flag on the plate, cause them haters can't hold me. And 1, 2 a days and run up the biggest hill just to sharpen up my skills. They hit the scoreboard first, I had to hit them drills. Time I get around the corner, they gon' see my new wheels. After practice, till the lights come on, till they bust ride out and they gone. That rally had us help, my teammate down the steps. Player, we got plays you ain't even seen yet. I post up and fade away like graffiti. Just don't claim it's love when you see us on TV. We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year.
3-Yard Play podcast.
We been working
brought to you by reality.
all year.
Where it is, what it is.
Game time.
You get what you get.
We all here.
So comment and let us know where you live.
Yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year.
You start with the reference to God.
All streaming platforms featuring hits like Young Jit, Stowaway, My Book of Life, and many more. Follow El Bravo at Lab Tech Music Group. It's time.
Like a stowaway,
Baby, you out. Release me.
just like
It's
a
stores
know
now.
Your homeland's far away. Take my hand and let me lead, though. I feel like they wanna tell you, but they weren't ready to me. Take a shot at the back of my hand and leave me for dead.
El Bravo. Release me. In stores now.
Welcome to the 3-Yard Play podcast. We are in the building. Shout out to my homeboys right now. Trill, T-Man in the building. What's happening?
Chilling, man.
Yeah, bugging, man. We got the check, boy. We rich, boy. We thugging now.
You get a little bread. Well, hold on. Let me show you. I'm rolling these days. I'm rolling. Man. Look, got that.
Ooh.
There they go. There they go.
Ooh.
Blessing on these folks, man.
Man. So what's on my mind today, man? What I wanted to bring to the table is, does money make you gangster?
That's a good question.
Does money make you gangster? Like, really? Like, at what point does the lines begin to blur and people forget who they really are? You know what I mean?
Nah.
So, with that the case, y'all jump in. Tell me what y'all think, man.
I mean, I gotta say, being here in America, man, the land of capitalism, yeah, money definitely makes you a gangster. Because I've seen so many folks that, man, but for the bread, you know, they wouldn't be talking and carrying it how they do.
Right.
But at the same time, they know with that money, man, you can't touch them, and they can definitely touch you. So, you know, I think that money in America can definitely, you know, make you a gangster.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because I remember reading, I think it was Bell Hooks. There's a book called what was the book called? We Real Cool, Black Men and Masculinity. And the one of the parts it talked about was how
Turn your volume up, gangster.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you can't hear me that well?
Turn the volume up a little bit, gangster.
You might be leaning on the mic a little bit.
Y'all can't hear me?
I hear you better now.
I'm better
Better
now.
now.
Maybe I need to just talk a little louder. My bad.
Yeah.
But long story short, it was about how capitalist society, and even just going historically, how as black men and just as we navigating these spaces, trying to make more money for our families and all those things, and the higher you get, you start paying more attention to how the white man had it, and then they was and like in our family, in our culture, we talked about ethics and morals and values, and doing the right thing to get where you need to be. But as you look up and the folks with the money, it was immoral, it was all it's a gangster culture. You know what I mean?
Right.
How you get it.
Yeah.
It was no looking at or caring about how you got it. It's just about survival of the fittest at the end of the day. Who gonna get the most? And it was not about survival, really. I should take that back. It was about excess. Being able to buy flashy stuff, do all these things, in addition to having your needs met, being able to spend frivolously, and how it impacted kind of just other culture. You know what I mean? And in particular, black men in this particular book, in terms of how we wanted to, we saw that as our source of power or status as well. You know what I mean? You don't want to just exist. You want more. You know what I mean? And so when it came down to like jobs that wouldn't even provide that kind of stuff, it led us down a different road. So like if you were an athlete and athletics one of your thing, you shift to more arts and entertainment. And if that was not your thing, you probably find some other way to make the big dollars so you can have a little excess. And with that, sometimes it comes with, in my opinion, let me say now, in my opinion, it comes with trying to be a little bit harder. You know what I mean? Change your persona, your mindset, because you got to go get it now. You can't be passive, and in my opinion, and get a lot. You know what I mean? You have to be aggressive, but doesn't mean gangster. No, you have to go get it. You got to be a grinder. I ain't gonna even say a hustler, because hustler somewhat has a connotation that you're trying to get over on somebody. But you got to grind aggressively to get at what you need to get at. And so, depending on what you've been exposed to, I can see how most chose drugs or whatever, robbing and all that gangster like lifestyles that you might have been portrayed in the media or whatever, or even in the community. Trying to be like that guy. So does money make you gangster? I won't say no, but it can influence your decision making. You know what I mean? In terms of how you chase it. You know what I mean? Because gangster I ain't no gangster, but I know I ain't no gangster, so I can't speak on it. I ain't try to.
Yeah, let's see you 50 million up. 50 million up, you gonna be talking breezy.
He gonna be poppy, champagne poppy in that mug.
What you think, LJ?
What's up?
I think the society is a gangster. American society is, like the movie American Gangster. Everything about America is about gangsterisms, in the sense that you come to take. Everything about America has been taken. You know what I mean? And so, and all the people who have taken have become rich off that taking. And once they become rich, bro, they the boss of it, And so, with that said, I look at just common people, man, that we know came from certain backgrounds, like like DJ Academics, or even like Drake. This is a Nickelodeon dude. So right now, this dude can call on Jay Prince and all the real folk, and because of money. And so even I hate to say it, but one of my most favorite entertainers of all time is Tupac. I know that dude was a poet, a writer, an actor. But the more money that came, the more thug life he became. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like society even puts you in that position. Like, now you're a boss.
Right.
And now that you're a boss, you can make calls.
What kind of calls is you making as the boss now?
Right. And unfortunately, in our culture, the things that we uphold as a power structure that has any type of weight in our community is gangsters. And I get it, because early in the 50s and the 60s, your movements like Black Panthers and gang, Crips and blood, those things were created initially for protection. You didn't really see protection from, let's just say you was a lawyer or you was a doctor, even though that was upstanding. That wasn't upheld in our community, whether it be direct or whether it was through influence from the powers that be above us that only want to show that about our culture. That's only images that we were able to attach to. So now, as people are navigating life, you see people like getting a PhD. They not a gangster. Right. They got these little elements or jokes that I don't now, this and that, and it is what it is. So now the money is definitely putting people in a position. But I say that to say this: what come with that though? A lot of these people are doing that only to find out that it is some real gangsters out there, and then that life comes to them, and now they crying foul and all that. Trip, what you think about the situation with academics?
I think and the academics, man, shout out Big AK, man, DJ Academics. I'm a huge fan of the platform. One of the most quiet chat niggas. I don't never comment. I just watch it. But I mean, I have seen a change in his personality, to some degree. And it's not somebody I know on a personal level, but just as a fan and as a loyal, patron or viewer of his content. I've been looking at him since when he kind of started getting, more of a buzz with his piece he was doing called the War in Chirac. And there in the War in Chirac, he was more so coming. What's good, bro?
Just want to say, just real quick though, you said the situation like what's his how did he come in? You say he changed a little bit. So how did he come in?
That's what I've been explaining. In the War in Chirac, he came in more of just like a journalistic perspective, and he was making little smart comments. But what he would do, he would take say almost like the blotter, what used to be in Creative Loafing. He would get crazy news stories from Chirac. And then he would talk about him, and he might show images of the people or images of the news story. But he was more so coming from a community awareness point of view. There's no reason that y'all need to be out here shooting up a laundromat with children in it. There's no reason this and that. And he would, talk hard and say a lot of crazy stuff. But his overall arching point was just trying to show that the violence is out of hand and it's foolish. He would make a parody of it. Right. But now it's to the point, when he's millions and millions of dollars up, now he's online going back and forth, internet banging and telling people this and that, what he'll do, and raising his voice and threatening people. Right. And you hear him a lot of times referencing to, what folks will and won't do and what he can and cannot get done. And I think a lot of it ties into what you mentioned, Thomas, is access. Once you get that paper, it opens you up to a whole nother level of access. So, I've heard a lot of people say when you get money, it just accentuates who you were already. That is your personality as you already were, but just now exaggerated in a lot of ways. So, it's interesting to me because I see how DJ Academics doing War in Chirac. You were fascinated with the Chicago scene and fascinated with, the gangsterisms of what they had going on, even if you recognize man, some of that's not the thing to do. It still, consumes some part of your subconscious or your psyche. And now that you have, abundant resources, it's kind of interesting to see how you are getting more and more into that aspect of yourself. Or you was watching the gangster rap stuff from the sideline, and now you're turning into one of the rap's gangsters or one of the culture's gangsters, and that you arguably making fun of the dead, going back and forth, kind of keeping up banter with people that are known for more of that street aspect. Whereas you can say you identify as not being a street dude, but it's what you do. People gonna listen to your words, but people also gonna see your actions. And I think more and more, if he's noticed it or not, you become a lot more of what you were speaking against. You're now the person that's talking all crazy and saying what you're gonna do and what will and won't happen. And it has to do with, you get that money, you got more access, you can call different plays, call a lot more shots.
Right. That's interesting you say that because as you were talking, I was thinking about it, and we always talk a lot of times about how social media presence and all those things, but then you think about these media companies. So he has podcasts, but who runs it? Who's over it? what level of influence do they have over that change? Because at the end of the day, what we all talk about a lot of times is helping people to sell records or move the needle or get likes or empowering the people. We had King and
Malcolm.
X.
Right.
They were our most prolific and most empowering leaders were
Hey, we
killed.
got young boy
You
and
know?
Dirk now, baby.
Hey, it is. And so my point being, how much is that? You think is media influence to your point? Because you might have gotten more power over those in the community, but then once you gain a little more access, there's another level to y'all say to the real gangsters. Who's funding you? And then they say, okay, now you're making this bread. I need you to stay on these airways, but you got to change your message, man. You're not getting enough likes. You're not causing enough controversy, bringing enough traffic to this space. And so I wonder, like, to your point, you come in. I don't use the Jay-Z line, and I don't know if it really applies here, but he said, I used to want to rap like Common.
Right.
And I'm gonna paraphrase because I don't forget the whole line. I used to rap like Common, but I guess he started making bread and I ain't rap like Common Sense. You know what I mean? So it was more like, I'm gonna feed into the animal, into the beast, and keep this checks coming in. Keep this awareness.
Well, let me ask you a question then, LJ. And based on what you're saying, Thomas, and that poses a different question of, is America, since America is arguably built on taking, are we actually in a place where the reason it appears that the money made people gangsters is that you can't get the money until you start to get gangster?
And there you go.
It wasn't until he started throwing caution to the wind and like, man, I'm involving myself more in this. I'm gonna do more stories like this. I'm gonna do this. And it was, even though he was talking about the war in Chirac, you were still feeding that violence and still giving people, kind of what they wanted. I think, kind of how you feel about that. And it don't have to be specific about academics, but just in general.
Yeah. Just in general, like if you really, Thomas, even to your point, like corporate America, what do we always talk about how corporate America is a dog-eat world, right? Like you got to kind of be that dog. You kind of got to be vicious to rise up, even in corporate America. So it's just part of ingrained in this society that you're not going to get to the paper on average being the nice guy. Mm-hmm. That's what it's built on. Like everybody, if you just look at how everything has maneuvered, if you just look at even, I don't care what culture you want to bring up. Think of even Donald Trump. This dude is a gangster. Like you could say he's a politician, but the best politicians have been gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, if you really even look at how the mob used to move in America, I mean, they really were ingrained in the political structure.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
money, power, influence.
The power of influence. These, even in modern day today, the politicians like Donald Trump, they hint at doing what? Using the mobs that are behind them.
Right.
And how are they using them? Because they got that influence. They got that money. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, yeah, man, I feel like, man, this is what our society has come to respect. And unfortunately, that's just where we at, man, because it's like you try to be the good guy, you try to be the nice guy, and people say, oh, they play you gangster. So they play you and they say, okay, well, we ain't giving you this. That's why even Suge Knight, if you really think about why Suge Knight even became the infamous, person he became, is because what were the industry execs doing to artists? They were telling them no. They were treating them like trash. They were giving them crumbs. They were stealing from them.
They were handling them like some gangsters.
They were right. But so until what? Until the real gangsters said, okay, nah, that's it. Now we coming. So I feel like, unfortunately, for the money aspect in society, this is the only thing that they respect. It's almost like I tell people when they're trying to make a point when it comes to whether it be a new law or something, right? You want a new law passed, or you're fighting for a particular right. My view is your ability to get that passed is only your ability to defend it. So if you don't have a way to defend it, then you have no voice really. So that's why a lot of times the things that you hear people boycotting for or marching for, they're correct, but they don't have no money. They don't have the power or the influence to make that stance stand, because the people who do, they're gonna play a gangster. They're gonna say, yeah, I hear you, but so what? And what are you gonna do about it? You know, so that forces everybody else to say, oh, okay, well, dang, I guess I gotta go this route to get you to hear me. You know, and that's
Really?
But it's the other thing I thought about too as you were talking.
And I got to blow the whistle. Let's make this.
Gotcha.
Final thought. We can start with you on the final, but
I'll be quick, because it's just interesting. It just this whole dynamic of gangster culture is when you think about how our top shows and our top TV shows all glorify gangster behavior, gangster culture. You know what I mean? We look towards that level of access and power, I guess, and respect. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that sense of belonging. You know, making us a sense of value. Though a lot of times, in my opinion, it's misguided, but it's a place that people would like to be. You know what I mean? I guess I look at it more from, they feel like they'll be liberated or free in that space. You know what I mean? Not knowing what all the things that come with being gangster, because it's not a easy lifestyle.
Right.
Now, I would agree. I say this for parting thoughts on my behalf. Honestly, I want us to, be aware and not just focus on Black people and gangsterism and Black culture, because when you're honest, man, corporate America is gangster. It's been so many people got killed behind corporate America deals, mergers, acquisitions, folks wanting to get patents, all kind of things, people stealing trade secrets. It's been so much folks lost their lives behind this business stuff that, that goes unnoticed or swept under the rug. Same thing with politics. So, in America, I think gangsterism and that cash go hand in hand. To be quite honest, it's almost like chicken or the egg, man. So once the folks run up enough for the bread, you a gangster by default, to be quite honest,
True. And my closing thoughts, man, on that, man. It's cool until it come back. Be aware of those things as you begin to ascend into your status as economically sound. That, hey, be careful, because the things that you speak on and participate in, those elements come find you, a lot of times. So a lot of people going around saying they G this and they gangster this and they all that. I said, but when it comes back, now everybody want to cry and say,
what you wish for.
You're right. So at the end of the day, let it work for you.
Work for you.
Let it work for you.
Sure it do.
Hey, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Hey, like, subscribe, give us y'all comments.
ATL with it.
Let us know what y'all think about something like this.
Y'all play podcast. We love y'all.
That's it.
Stay safe.
Appreciate you tuning in. See y'all on the next side.
Peace.
The best side.
New Black Magic Jr. album, Riot's Work, coming soon. Featuring bangers like How Deep, Cursed, the Poland Remix, Rolling, and many more. Also be sure to check out the album and Sleep Well, and Breaking Cases of Mercy.
Alien technology that took the skull and bones, so first for all of y'all to see. Black magic in the flash, hacking through the algorithm, killing shit the best.
New Black Magic
Bulls
Jr.
running full court press. Jordan back after getting shit off his chest.
The truth is the hardest shit.
You see, the thing that separates us from every other group of slaves is the fact that...
Thank y'all for tuning in today and every day. And remember to keep running your 3-yard play.
Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers, they gon' grow. Oh, we gon' water season, watch that harvest flow. Whoa. I've been crunching numbers.
Cause we know heroes are made in the off season.
There should be no reason
and grind the slow is better than crashing out
we
for
get
dough.
that money bound for we don't want it.
Let's say, young brothers, remember,
don't fulfill the promise.
I ain't never
3 yards every game.
It's the officer.
They can never
I can't
stop.
read that narrative, so ain't no need of calling us. You ain't never had to tell your kid being black was a sin, cause his skin was reflected through America. Taking care of us was just a handout, right? But it was fair when free labor was just as nice. I can bet you your life, your kids living alright. Cause me and mine had to
been
do
rocking
it or
with the
die every
3
single
Yard Play
night.
podcast.
I get mine, yeah. You get yours, yeah. But together, nigga, we gon' get some more, yeah. Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers,
So
they
like,
gon' grow.
subscribe, share,
we gon' water season,
let's
watch that
discuss.
harvest flow. Whoa. I've been
What's up with
crunching
us?
numbers, winter, fall, spring, and summer. There should be no
Thank
reason
you.
that the baby
Tuning
never
into
hunger.
the 3
When
Yard
we get
Play
that money
podcast.
bound for, we don't run it. I only
Put a
pledge
post onto
allegiance
it.
to go fulfill the promise. Time and time